The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on the Nova Society are those of our guests and panel members and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of any institution any member of the Nova Society is associated with. The material information presented on the Nova Society is for general information purposes only. Reproduction or dissemination for the purpose other than education is prohibited without express written consent of the Nova Society. We'd like to welcome everyone back to the Nova Society, and today our panel will have a very short conversation as we discuss what we see as a potential very bad move by the Biden campaign. Should President Biden have accepted the interview opportunity prior to the Super Bowl? And by not doing so, what might be the political fallout from that? And was this a missed opportunity for President Biden to get his message across about how well the country is doing under his administration? So let's listen in.
But I do have a serious I have a serious question about the Super Bowl, just to add from a political acumen standpoint.
Right.
Biden has decided that he's not going to do the now traditional interview before the game.
Right.
And his point for doing that, he says, is, you know what? Enough politics. Enjoy the game. Like, enjoy sports for a day. And,
I like that.
We're not going to make it political. Other people are saying, man, are you crazy? This is the best chance you're going to ever have to reach this big audience. You're not going to get hard questions to answer, I don't think. And why not just do it? So, what do you think? A good idea or a terrible idea? Or, do you believe that that's, I guess the conspiracy theories would be like he's not doing it because he's not really alive anymore and somebody else is pulling the strings and he can't do it in that forum.
He just realizes he can't share the spotlight with Taylor Swift. Let's just be real. It's like, why bother?
Okay.
Yeah, but
I have to hop, my friends.
Oh, okay. You take care. Good idea. I think it's a bad idea. I think you should do it. I really do. I think there's a platform, and I think it's. I just think it's a platform. It's a missed opportunity on his part because, like you say, he's going to get softball questions.
Yeah, and
it's not going to be hard.
And any politician knows this, and I've done plenty of media training with executives in a corporation. When you do media training, you teach that the question doesn't really matter. It's just you acknowledge the question, and then you move on to your answer and what your messages are. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but the trade deficit narrowed by 18.7% last year from the year before.
Wow.
Yes.
That is the most since 2009. And
I hadn't seen that.
Exports from the U.S. to the rest of the world are up from in 2023 from the previous year, even though the dollar is very strong and our economy is very good and we get paid more money to make goods and they're more expensive. People still want to buy American. I just want to. So if Biden were to go out on Sunday and have a message to say, that one, the trade deficit is something that Trump used to scream about constantly. And under Trump, the trade deficit actually widened by 40.5, I think it was, percent, over 40%. And now in this year, Biden has managed to narrow it by nearly 20%. The contrast of successful policies and unsuccessful policies is clearly there. And this would have been a great forum with a big audience to hear that message. And I don't know if he's changing anybody's mind. I guess there are plenty of people who are so in the middle, they're not really looking yet, and they're not going to say it, but they might just catch that one on Sunday. And I think it's a terrible missed opportunity.
I mean, he had that great jobs report that came out, double what was expected this quarter. I mean,
there's so much to talk about.
So much for him to talk about, and he's missing that opportunity. As you say, big audience, softball questions. It's not like Fox News is going to be interviewing him. And I just don't understand. It concerns me that he decided. I understand his rationale. I get it. I think that's very nice, but he's a politician, and you don't let these kinds of opportunities get by because they don't come along very often.
Right. And you know what it reminds me of in a way? I remember I went to Delaware in the summer of 2004 in August for 2 weeks. And for 2 weeks I unplugged and I, paid attention to nothing, right? Came back on Labor Day. And on the car ride down there, they were beginning to talk about the Swift boat, the veterans for Swift boat truthers or whatever they wanted to call themselves. And that John Kerry said, I'm not even going to dignify this with a response. And I thought to myself, that's probably a mistake. And unplugged. 2 weeks later, I'm driving back in the car, turn on the news, and they're talking about Swift boat this and Swift boat that. He completely allowed that to get out of hand and allowed the Republicans to frame a person who was a decorated war hero as a coward and whatever else the Swift boat thing made him out to be. And it was such a huge missed opportunity on his part to just bring the people who served with him on the boat in Vietnam and to say, what a powerful career he had when he was in the Navy. I think it was the Navy. And he missed that. And I think that Biden, misses some real opportunities to shut some people up and to talk about the great accomplishments he's had as president.
I mean, he could have even sent Kamala Harris to do it.
I was just going to say, what's wrong with having the vice president go?
Honestly, I think that would be worse. It would send a signal that he didn't want to, expose himself to the media in such a free-flowing, non-scripted way. I kind of disagree with that, but he's got a great story to tell, and he needs to tell it. And this would have been a great opportunity. Yep.
Missed opportunities. Yeah. And I think that this is one that might come back and bite him because these opportunities do not come along every single day. Right. It's one thing to have the sound bite when you're coming out of a tea place. And
I saw that one.
I mean, that's great, but this was an opportunity to really tell the story. And I don't know who's running this campaign and the real reason why this isn't happening. But to me, this is probably the most concerning thing that I could think of that has kind of gone on with his campaign so far, that this opportunity was just simply, they fumbled it, plain and simple, and they shouldn't have. This should have been a no-brainer.
Yeah,
he's got too much good stuff to talk about. Too much good stuff. All right, guys, we will schedule up something for next week, and we will see you then.
Yes, thanks.
All right. Be well. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the rest of the week.
Absolutely. Go Swifties. Take care. So that's all the time we have for today's episode. The Nova Society is a production of the Phoenix Research Institute. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this episode, the Journal of Interdisciplinary Conflict Science. The JCIS is an open journal for upcoming scholars. The JCIS is currently accepting article submissions on an ongoing basis. The JCIS is a publication of Nova Works, a scholarly depository at Nova Southeastern University. A link to the journal is in our description. We'd also like to thank our podcast partners, Buzzsprout, who hosts the Nova Society, Audacity, who is our editing partner, and Podkite, who does all of our analytics. We'd also like to thank iHeartRadio, where people get their music and podcasts, Apple iTunes, the largest source for music and podcasts on the internet, Spotify, the most popular source for the Nova Society. The Nova Society is available on all these and other quality platforms mentioned in our description. We'd also like to thank our listeners. Without you, the Nova Society would not be possible. If you have a comment, a question, or would like to be a guest on the Nova Society, we can be reached at nova.society.podcast@gmail.com. Always remember, the power of society is knowledge. So for Dr. Scott Gershwer, Dr. Brooklyn Ann Weldon, Dr. Priscilla Hobbs, and all of us here at the Nova Society, I'm Dr. Mark Bound. Be well, and we hope to see you again next time.